Welcome to the Fit Affiliate podcast, hosted by Tony Ronke and Lisa Hetherington, where we talk about behaviours and behaviour-based conversations as they apply to affiliate owners and coaches. And welcome back to another episode of the Fit Affiliate podcast. And today I am super excited to welcome back to the hot seat, Cristina Anderson. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Lisa?
Good. And I should actually say Coach Cristina Anderson, because you have indeed recently earned that title by achieving your CrossFit Level 4. Well done.
Thank you.
That is no mean feat. It's a fairly intensive process. And I know that you can't discuss the process per se, but, I know it was, it's a fairly intense day, and many people are attempting it, and many are not coming away as successfully as you did. So definitely a feather in your cap. And what I wanted to dig in today is, your journey through coaching and, how that you've done, what a lot of people probably think is impossible. So in a very short window of your coaching life, you've got to this point where a lot of people would argue, oh, well, the level 4, that's for 10, 15-year coaches and that sort of thing. So breaking through, I guess, that glass ceiling, but also being a role model and inspiration for female coaches in particular. So we've got a bit to dig into.
Yeah.
How does it feel to when, you got that email to say, tick?
I'm still in disbelief. When the email came through, I remember thinking to myself, they tell you it'll be like 10 days. And so it was a shorter time frame than that. And so when the email came through, I was like, oh God, like it was so bad they didn't even need time to think about it. It's just like that's just like the first thought that came through my mind. And so, you have to if you've ever taken, even your CrossFit level 1, you get the email and then you have to sign the document, and then the second email comes through. And so I like open up, I'm signing and, doing my thing. And then I see this email pop up, congratulations. And I remember it so vividly. I stood up and I threw my phone on the floor. And I was like this. I was
Hot
like
potato.
And I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she was just like, Mom, like what? And I just had to I passed like that. It literally like I could not comprehend that had happened. And then I picked up my phone and I read it like 4 more times, went to call one of my coaches to tell him, but like had to read it another 4 times because I'm like, I have to make sure that this is legit. Like, is this true? Does this really say congratulations?
Is this a typo?
Yeah, did they write the wrong word? I don't know. But yeah, like, so I mean, the emotions just were it was so overwhelming. It is yeah, it was a huge I was so happy.
Yeah. And I remember the day prior that we'd had a coaching call together, and you were like, totally, I've failed it. You went through it. You were like, yeah, no, I didn't feel good about this. And then I remember when you sent me the text or the Slack and you said, oh my God, I passed. And I'm like, I almost threw my phone because I'm like, I just stopped what I was doing. I went, oh my God. And my partner was like, what? And I like, Cristina passed. And I was so excited, and I'm like, legit. You're like, yeah. I was like, wow, that's amazing, because you'd been like at that bottom of the barrel of like, no, but that's okay. It's all learning. You had a really good attitude about it once you sort of got over the initial disappointment.
Yeah.
And I guess that raises the first interesting point for us, is that journey of belief in yourself that you had. But even though you've summited the mountain to a degree, is how you still had that like bout of almost imposter syndrome that popped up that said, oh, this must be a mistake. It's not right. You convince yourself you failed.
Yeah.
Take me through, or take everyone, clearly I know, but take us through, I guess, a little bit of your journey from, deciding to be a coach and some of the struggles you had around that belief and value and worth as a coach that even, just starting out?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, I'm one of those people where as soon as the email came out in January that they had reopened the level 4, I
Mm,
signed up. Like I had zero hesitation. I clicked the link, I signed up, I paid the money. I just it was like I didn't even think about it. It wasn't like oh, should I try this or am I ready? I just signed up
mm,
because I know that, I have an overall goal. I would really love to work on seminar staff someday. And I've always just wanted to strive to be the best coach that I can be. So for me, it was like, there's a next level. I have to go get it. And
mm,
so I signed up. And after I signed up, then I would start to do that reflection. Well,
mm,
I've only been a coach for less than 3 years, technically.
mm,
And then the doubts start to spiral, like, "Oh gosh, like, was I even allowed to sign up? Am I qualified to sign up? Um,
mm,
do I deserve to even be in that room, like, being
mm,
evaluated in that way?" So many questions, and I think that, like, to kind of I'll, like, start at the end and, like, work my way back. When I
mm, mm,
when I took when I went in to take the test, I knew that all those doubts were swimming around, but I had done so much work, especially with you, like our calls through Fitfiliate, um, were a lot of mental things because that's what stands in my way. And I
mm,
remember I had to fly down to Atlanta and I was on the plane and I kept saying to myself over and over again, you are worthy of this. You have worked very hard. You deserve to be in the room. And I just kept saying that, and, like, going up to the test, I pulled into the parking lot. "You are worthy. You have worked very hard. You deserve to be in this room." And so, as much as like, I think that that's the biggest point I wanna point out is that, like, the doubts are still there, and they're always going to be. But
mhm,
how are you speaking to yourself? I guess, is like that's what propelled me to actually physically get into the room and take the evaluation.
mm,
Um, and my mindset kind of leading up to that is just that, you know, my journey and I know that we went into it a little bit before when I was previously on the podcast,
mm,
but my journey started with a coach who had a really detrimental effect on the way that I saw myself and my fitness. And that's compiled with, an idea that I got from my upbringing and from my parents of, my fitness and my body. And so like a lot of really negative body image, self-worth. It's just I had a really hard time with that growing up. And so
mm,
coming out of that, having created this kind of foundation and love and passion for CrossFit, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So
mm,
when I took my level 1, I remember very vividly going into my level 1, and at the time I was somewhere within I've lost a little over 100 pounds and I was somewhere within that journey like early on. So
mm,
this was like, I was maybe like 80 pounds heavier or so, and I, sat down on my level 1. And again, the first thought I had was, "Oh my gosh, Austin Malleolo was my flow master, and
mhm,
I obviously recognized him as being a games athlete." And I sat down in my seat at my level 1, and he walks up and says, "I'm Austin Malleolo." And I immediately was like, "I don't deserve to be here. I can't even be in the same room as this man. Like, what am I doing here?"
mm,
Like all of these doubts, right? Just I am not worthy of being within his presence because he's so fit.
mm,
That was where I was. That was where I was in my headspace at that time. And it took no more than 20 seconds for me to be so enthralled by everything that they were saying. I mean, the level 1 seminar, if you are like out there listening and you've thought about taking it and you have
It's
hesitated,
amazing.
it is a life-changing
Mm,
seminar. But like, as soon as that belief ticked over from I don't deserve to be here to oh my god, this is amazing, I said
mm,
to myself, I'm gonna wear one of those red shirts someday. I want to
yeah,
be one of those people because the truth bombs and the breakthroughs that I made that were just the beginning of me becoming the coach that I am today. I mean, it again, life changing. So
mm.
yeah, it just yeah.
And it's, I mean, I think most of us who sit in our level 1 have, that visceral reaction. I mean, the same as you, when I went and did mine, I was not your typical athletic build. I was, and when I first walked in, I was like, yep, this is cool. And then I did have a bad experience with the way one of the instructors actually made me feel.
Mm,
And after the first day, I was like, that's it. I can't go back. Like, this is not for me. And I remember I had a friend say, you deserve your spot in that room as much as anybody else.
yeah.
And I went back for day 2 and had the most amazing experience that day and the most amazing thing. And I walked out there going, this is, this is what I'm meant to be doing now. When we did that partner workout and you got to coach your partner
Mm,
sort of through the workout. And I actually got a shout out at the end from the flow master going, Lisa was the best coach on the floor, through that exercise. And,
okay.
I was like, wow, okay. That completely reframed the experience I'd had the day before. And I was like, wow, that's just, mind blowing. And it's amazing that you're sitting there absorbing that knowledge from, and you're going, this is the vehicle that can change my life and everyone I know's life for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And so, that clearly has been your experience. Like, you've stepped out of that level 1, then you started, coaching in an affiliate, and your life trajectory has been, you know, huge. As I said in the intro, you've pretty much compressed time
Yeah.
for, what people would say is a, traditional coach's journey to go through the steps. And you've kind of gone, well, why? Like, CrossFit doesn't have any particular arbitrage around, the time you need to wait before you attempt each level. It's like when you take it in your pass, then you're ready if you want to throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah.
So as you've worked through that journey, so you've done your level 1, you started coaching, how did you feel, embarking on that journey? Like, these actual live humans in front of me now who you know, I get to be their red shirt, basically.
Yeah. Um yeah, I mean, so it's interesting because when I took my level 1, it was actually right before everything shut down for COVID. Um,
Mm,
so my level 1 was on the weekend of March 1st in 2020. Um, and I remember that there was like inklings of it. It was like that
mm,
time where we're like, oh, are we supposed to not shake each other's hands because of this whole COVID thing? Like it was
mm,
very like it was not a very big presence at the time, but then, not 2 weeks later, we were all completely shut in. And so
mm,
I remember that um obviously my gym had closed, and so but I was like on fire after my level 1, and I was like I need to coach. I need to somehow like do this, but how? Like
mm,
there's no gym open. And so I sent 2 emails actually. I sent 2 emails that day. And one of them was to the owner and coach of the gym that I was currently a member at the time. And I had taken the online Spot the Flaw course that CrossFit offers. And
mhm,
I went through and I just, again, COVID. So everybody was home doing nothing. So I went through and I wrote out little cues that I thought maybe that you would do to fix the flaws. Um,
mhm,
so the course is about seeing an issue, But it didn't really talk about correcting. So I was like writing little cues like, okay, if I saw that, if the chest is coming forward, I would say chest up, and I just kind of
Mm,
wrote out all the cues just as like a way to try to like push myself to start learning and applying it. And
mm,
so I wrote that all out and I sent it to my gym owner at the time via email and just say like, hey, like, can you take a look at this and let me know if I'm in the right,
mm,
ballpark for things. And then I sent an email to Austin Malleolo, who was my flow master for my
mm,
level 1. And I just told him that I was so on fire and that I needed to do something and I needed to like move forward and I needed to become a coach. And that
mm,
I wasn't quite sure if it was going to be able to happen for me at the gym that I was at.
mm,
And long story short, my first email never was responded to. My gym
mm,
owner back where I'm from never responded to my email, but
mm,
Austin Malleolo did.
mm,
And he wrote me back and he said, what did it say? It said, if you were in the Boston area, I would
mm.
love to help you out. And
Wow.
I don't know what came over me because this is very uncharacteristic of me. I don't,
Mm,
um, I don't do things uncalculated like this, but we moved.
mm. Wow.
Yeah, so we moved to
Yeah.
Boston,
Mm.
and I remember sending him the email being like, "He is gonna think I am an absolute nut, like, an
A
absolute
stalker.
job," and, I emailed him and I was like, "I can't shake the feeling that this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to move to the area. Um, I look forward to seeing you again or meeting you again."
Mm,
And I remember he just emailed me back and said, "Wow, I love the commitment." So like
mm.
he was very supportive
It
and
was all in.
let's
Yep.
do it. Thank God because like he could have just thought I was a freaking nut. But no, he was very supportive. But when I moved here, when I moved to the Boston area and I moved from Buffalo, New York, so it's like a few
Mm,
100 miles.
yeah.
Um when I moved to the Boston area, I was very adamant that like I wanted to kind of do it myself. So I really didn't reach out to Austin again. I didn't want to ask him to hold my hand. So
Mm,
I just sort of showed up at, the gym that he was a co-owner at the time, CrossFit One Nation, and I just took it from there. I
mm,
showed up, I offered to intern, I offered to clean the bathrooms, I did all the things. And meanwhile, I hadn't really even coached a class yet. It had just been, me
mm,
doing online research. And as soon as we moved here, the level 2 opened up as far as like them having seminars again in COVID.
mhm,
And
mm,
I just took the level 2. I had
mm,
never coached a class in my life, but I took the level 2 because I saw it as like there was no other opportunity for me to coach. So like I just did it. Um
mm.
and
And
so
that's
yeah.
that's almost like it's a perfect way to go about it because you did your level 2 without any bad habits that you picked up along the
Exactly.
way to knock
Exactly.
out. It's like, well, if I'm gonna teach somebody to coach, like, let's give them all the goodness up front rather than, traditionally people would do their L1, then they might wait till almost renewal time and then jump and do their L2 or, I think I waited like 3 years, got some coaching under the belt and then jumped in and did it. So, you didn't have any of that baggage and that ego attached with coaching, which kind of blocks people sometimes when they're getting that feedback because that's the level 2 is very feedback heavy.
Yeah.
So that's like a perfect storm, I guess, for
Yeah.
you that it was timing.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. And so Denise Thomas was the flow master for my level 2. And she said the same thing. She was like, "Hey, like she's like, I just want to encourage you. You did a great job." And a lot of it is because of what you just said. I didn't have
Mm,
any preconceived notions. I didn't have any bad habits. She literally said to us, "Here's the 9 foundational movements. Here's the points of performance. I want you to teach it like that." And I did that because I didn't know anything else. all I
Mm.
knew was the 9 foundational movements and their points of performance. So, uh, which is further proof that, you know, when coaches are looking to get better and they ask, you know, high level coaches their advice, I always hear the same advice: know your 9 foundational movements and know their points of performance, progressions, and faults for each one.
Mm.
And I think coaches don't take that seriously, but it's
No.
so true.
Yep.
That's what you need to know, like the back
Mm.
of your hand
Yep.
first or anything else.
And you know, there are a lot of people who will argue that um the foundational movements, well, there's only, you know, 9 of them, like that's not all we teach, but those points of performance translate to, you
Exactly.
know, I remember when I did the CrossFit Strongman course with Rob Orlando, and it's like he was talking about a tire flip being, you know, it's violent hip extension. Where else do we use that? Oh, snatches and, you know, cleans and all of those sort of things is, and you start to see how the skill transference. And I used to speak to my members in the box a lot about, you know, this transfers to this movement or this movement. It's not, nothing's in isolation. It's all, you know, linked. And it's, when you understand those points of performance, it makes coaching way less overwhelming because you're like, well, I just need these basically list of 10, 15 things which apply almost universally.
Yeah,
You know, are the
exactly.
hips either down or are they extended? Are the knees locked out or, you know, whatever, you know, shoulders, what's your overhead position? Like you can nut it right down to the basics and you can make it as simple as it needs to be. And as Pat Sherwood would say, you know, brutally elegant. Like
Mm,
it is an elegant solution to the world's most vexing problem. And we, as humans, and we've talked about this on the Fit Affiliate podcast, is like we like to overcomplicate things. So
mm,
affiliate owners like to overcomplicate their business, and because it's meant to be hard, but you know, we can break things down to those simplest steps,
mhm.
you know, and be able to just go, oh, you know, this is what it is, and do it in its purity, I guess. So you were operating from that place of the inputs had been the level 1 manual, the level 2 manual, level 1 seminar. Those were your inputs, not having someone else tell you this is how it should be done. You've kind
Yeah.
of been immersed just in it in its purity before you had a chance to go out and think that you know better, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really powerful. And it's interesting that you say that, you know, you packed up, you moved to Boston and you went there and to One Nation and you were like, hey, I'll clean the bathrooms or whatever. A lot of people have and we talk about on the $1 Million Coach podcast, is once people start to ascend the levels, there's this entitlement. It's like, well, hey, I'm a level 1, like I should be, like, give me some classes to coach. Well, you know, what are you doing to earn that position and show your commitment to the position? Same as then people progress to 2, 3, and 4. Well, they, you know, they hit their 3 and they come back to their owner and they go, well, I'm a level 3 now, so my hourly rate should be more. Well, what are you doing to add value and earn that? But for you to demonstrate to somebody who didn't know you, you could have tapped Austin on the shoulder and I'm quite sure he would have slotted you in somewhere, or, you know, helped you forge a path. But you went in and went, I'm going to do this on my own merits, which speaks volumes to you as a person, but, you know, that demonstrates to that affiliate that it's like, I'm here to do whatever it takes to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that work ethic, which is, you know, clearly what led you to go level 1, level 2, then think about, you know, 3 and then on to 4. That's, it's not easy, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And particularly then as you go on your journey to your level 3, that's, you know, that's lots of acquired knowledge. Like that's a
Yeah.
test, so it's basically testing your acquired knowledge. So you were only coaching for a very short time, so you had to work very hard to acquire
Yes.
that knowledge for the 3. Tell me about that process.
Yeah. So, well, one of the requirements, it has since changed, but back when I
Mm.
took it, the requirement for the level 3 was 750 coaching hours.
Mhm.
So you know, already knowing when I finished my level 2, again, even though I hadn't even
Mhm.
coached a class yet,
Mm.
I knew that as soon as I started coaching, I was going to track every single hour that I spent on
Mhm.
the floor. And so the following week, I started an internship at One Nation.
Mhm.
And so I ended up, most people do that a couple days a week, but I had, again, I had quit my job, sold my house. Like, I mean, this was it. Like, I was all
Mm.
in and I had to make it happen. So, um, I was interning, 5 days a week. And,
Mm.
I like to think that, this was during a time when, the world was under a lot of tension. And so,
Mhm.
while I didn't stay at One Nation Fitness for very long, I like to
Mm.
think that, I was able to be there and, offer the coaches some, you know, just like ability to have a break from just,
Mm.
that was during a time when everybody was so scared and we had to work out outside and members had questions and needs, and it just, I was able to help soften that and help be a part of, taking care of people during that time. And
Mm.
I loved my experience there very much, and I learned a ton.
Mm.
So I got to work with, a gentleman, Lachlan McGonigal. He is on the CrossFit seminar staff. And so he walked me through my internship, which basically looked like me coaching class and then receiving feedback. And
Mhm.
then I would oftentimes coach the next class and then try to implement that feedback. And, um, it just, I think that this is also a really common thing you hear when people ask for advice on coaching is, you have to put yourself in situations where you're receiving feedback and then
Mhm.
implementing it. And so that's what I did. So I started accumulating hours and, keeping track of everything. And then, I ended up being referred down to, the last affiliate I was at, CrossFit Marshfield. Um, where I was working with Joe Maisley, who is also a seminar staff member. So, um, I was making sure that I was learning from the best.
Mhm.
It was really important to me. If with seminar staff being the goal that was in my mind, I wanted to be around coaches who, were either on seminar staff or who were on a similar path so that we could, fuel each
Mm.
other. And so, I started
People like us do things like this.
yeah.
Surround yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So, so then I started working, and that's when I actually was starting to get paid to coach, which
Yeah.
is,
Wow.
oh my
The
gosh.
dream.
So it was like that was the first step. It was like, oh my gosh, like, and I mean at the time it was like $25 a class, but it felt like a million. I mean, it might as well
Mm.
have been, you know, it just was like I just got paid to do this. So
Mm.
I think that that's part of it too, right? Like you have to accept, that there's steps as you're,
Mm.
kind of making your way towards a big goal. And you have to be excited about every single step along the way. So so yeah, I started coaching and a lot. And I got to the point where I was coaching like 18 to 22 classes a week and
Mm.
accumulating hours and just,
Yep.
doing the thing. And
Time
as
under tension, getting the reps in. It's
exactly. And I think
yeah.
that that's, exactly. I would coach the same class, 3 times in a day, 4 times in a day, and I would try different things. So, all throughout this, that was me learning. And
Mm.
then just kind of adding on the reading of the articles that are provided by CrossFit to prepare for your
Mm.
level 3. I started implementing that stuff in class and putting it into practice, and then I felt myself becoming a better coach. And eventually when I had my 750 hours again, I just signed up for the level 3 because I had gotten to the point where I could. So that was
Mm.
like,
Yep.
that was
That's
the next step. That was the next
mhm.
that I had to check.
I think that, it's amazing to hear when you talk about it with like being excited about each step in the journey. Quite often, coaches who've been doing this a really long time is like, they just do the thing because it's expected to be done, or they even don't. For example, they get in and they do their level 1, and then it comes time to revalidate. It's like, oh, well, I'll do my level 2. I'll just validate my level 1, and that was incomprehensible to me because I was like, well, why would you just do that? Like, why would you just stay where you're at? Like when the next level is there, but also, being prepared to put in that work, but have that excitement and passion. And yeah, I'm coaching a lot of classes, but it's A, I'm getting to do what I love, but B, every hour is getting me one step closer to, where I need to be. And, I've heard people say about the L4 and the L3 is like, oh yeah, but you've got to do all this study to keep it and get all these, CEUs. It's like, yeah, that's ongoing development as a coach. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Exactly.
Um, but you had that mindset very early on as like, I need to be a sponge. And,
Yes.
you actively sought out to surround yourself with people that would challenge you and therefore help you grow, which is very rare in the space. Like there aren't a lot of people that would actually seek that out and want to be in that uncomfortable space where you're constantly getting feedback. So that's a huge credit to you. That's huge.
Yeah, and it's funny, like sitting here listening to you reflect on what I have said and kind of hearing myself speak. I feel as though um I'm almost coming across like I don't want to come across braggy in any way.
But you
Um
haven't, not at all.
yeah, but so I guess like where I was going, this was all me fighting, going back to what I said, like, initially when we started talking, this was
Mm,
all me fighting all of those deep, deep insecurities that are there. So,
mhm,
and I think this is another thing that I want people to be more aware of. That's like, you know, I have worked my butt off to become the best coach that I possibly can be because I, for so long, didn't believe in myself. And so
mhm,
for me, becoming the best, earning the level 4, that's just like another layer of the armor that's protecting me from those deep-seated negative thoughts about myself, which again are
mhm,
never going to go away, but I'm working hard to fight them. And I think that it's just really important to note that um, we have to be able to look back and be proud of each step in the along the way because of that too. um
mhm,
it's important to be humble, but it's also important to celebrate when you have worked hard for something and you have succeeded. And I think that that's really goes along with my philosophy and like why I coach and what I want it to bring to people is just like, if you can do CrossFit, you can learn what you're capable of, what your body is capable of.
mm,
People have overcome so many thoughts about themselves just by going into a CrossFit gym and experiencing what it's like to have a coach believe in you and empower you and just, you know, it's just that's like, it gets me so fired up.
It is, and it's, life-changing, particularly for, women for a start, but also, we all struggle with body image and aesthetics, and when you're women like us who are strong, badass women, but you don't meet the typical aesthetic mold of coach, you know, it would be easy to sit back and hide in the corner rather than, putting ourselves forward and being open to getting, haters and trolls and being judged basically for, you know, what we look like rather than what we can actually do.
Right.
And I remember a powerful thing happened many years ago to me. I had dealing with some haters and fairly traumatic. But one of the things someone pointed out to me is like, they're sitting there sledging you from the keyboard. You're the one whose ass is on the line, whose name is on the door for this affiliate, and you put yourself out there ready to be judged and ridiculed every single day. But you turn up and you show up, you're still doing it, and you're putting it all on the line, whereas they're sitting in a comfortable 9 to 5 job, hiding behind their keyboard, and it's super easy to hit you at your weak spots. It's like, reflect on what you're actually doing and the fact of how much it takes, even if you don't realize it consciously, to step up every day and put yourself out in front, when it would be way easier to go, oh, I'm just going to be the little fat kid from the bush out the back. I'm going to hide up the back, and because that's where I belong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that journey of belief that you had, or being prepared to tackle those doubts, and like you said, it's true, they never go away, but we can dilute them and we can shine a light on them so they actually have less power on us, which is what you've done to a degree. Now, this is probably a really good segue into like what's kind of next in your message. I know that you have a very impressive or awesome content that you put out on your socials, with the message that you put out about body image and what you can do, and not letting those thoughts limit you. And your content's very positive, and I know it's genuine. It's not like you're just putting that out because that's what people want to read, but it does resonate a lot with people. So how do you want to, or what do you think you can now bring to the space, or who do you want to help now that you've got your level 1? You can, your level 4, sorry, not your level 1. You've got, that's old news, Lisa. Now that you got your level 4, is like, okay, how it's that validation for you that yes, I belong in this space and I'm at the tip of the spear. How do you want to use that to help others?
I think that, with the dream having always been to be on CrossFit seminar staff, that is really at the core of, why I do what I do. I want to be in a position where I am developing other coaches, and I want to be doing it by the book of CrossFit. I am a firm believer, and, somebody who is just very much committed to the methodology as it's written. If you've ever heard the salt shaker analogy that a lot of CrossFit coaches use, that the salt shaker goes in the middle of the table, and I'm one of the coaches who wants to keep it in the middle of the table. And so I knew that I had to learn the skills to be able to convey that in the best way possible, which I believe that CrossFit has nailed that. But now that I, am in a position where I could potentially help to develop other coaches, I want to be able to add that piece of the empathy that I am able to bring to light when it comes to coaching, because of what I've experienced. Because of the fact that I have been 100+ pounds overweight in an unhealthy way, in an unhealthy place, because I have struggled with eating disorders in the past, because I have struggled so deeply with my body image, because I never was fit as a kid. I never played sports. I never was, the one being recognized in a positive way for my physical being. So I believe that that is something that I have that is unique in the coaching space. And that is not on purpose. That's one of the things I really want people to understand, is that anybody can be a CrossFit coach. Anybody. And I think that it's our own limiting beliefs that we carry that stop us. But I have received messages from people on my social media, along the lines of, I didn't know that CrossFit allowed people to be a coach if they weren't one of the top athletes, or I have always wanted to take my level 1, but I would never dream of it. That is way too scary.
Mm,
And so it really has opened my eyes that, you know, when I was sitting in my level 1 and those initial thoughts that I had that I wasn't worthy of being in the same room as a gentleman who had been to the CrossFit Games, which when you say that out loud, it's absurd, but
mm,
it's a true feeling that people have. Um, it just I believe that I was put on this earth to help show people that that is not true.
mm,
And that, we as coaches have a responsibility to be meeting our athletes where they're at. And
mm,
that is regardless of if they are a top athlete or if they are fresh, you know, I don't care,
mm,
99 years old and have never worked out a day in their life, but they want to start at 99. Like, it is
mm,
our responsibility to meet those people where they're at with empathy and care and compassion, and empower them to feel good about
mm.
themselves in taking that step.
And we talk about the um, coaching, like in affiliate, we talk about coaching as, it's a transfer of belief. And, our clients come to us because, in the gyms, because they might come to us and say, yeah, I want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds. But in reality, it comes down to belief. Like they don't believe they're attractive enough or they're, good enough for, deserving of a partner, a family, or all those, deep rooted things. And as a coach, it is, like you said, it's our job to believe in them. And you've done a lot of not just the hard work on the technical side of coaching, so acquiring the knowledge and the skills, but you have worked very hard on transforming your own belief systems and not being afraid to, when you started your coaching journey with us, you've put yourself in a position then to get that feedback. And I know through our coaching calls, we've had a lot of challenging conversations where, I've asked you hard questions and made you, you've had pause to reflect and to
Yeah.
look at, your why behind doing things. And is it just a knee jerk reaction to need validation, or is it actually, something that's going to add value to you? And you've done that hard, uncomfortable internal work, which I think is a big step that's often missed. If someone is a natural athlete and just has cruised through life and then they become a coach, it can seem like it's a really seamless journey. But you've been very open and transparent about, on your socials and, in our calls, but understanding that you needed to get a transfer of belief in you as well from me, and also from, the technical coaches that you've worked with, be able to help you fuel your momentum forward. What led you to think that I need to get some, it's not just going to, I need to get past some of these personal things, personal barriers that I know that are holding me back, rather than just acquiring technical skill, technical skill, technical skill?
Um, I think that I have a very specific memory. So I've participated in the coach development program twice. And
Mhm,
that was created by Denise Thomas and Austin Maliello and James Hobart, I believe.
mhm,
But now I believe Denise is the sole owner and coach,
mhm,
among a couple other coaches throughout the country. But um, so the first time I did the coach development program, I was a very new coach, and so it was all about, the technique
mm,
and the basics and the 9 foundational
mhm,
movements and teaching, seeing, correcting, how to set yourself up, all the things. And I remember Denise had posted that they were going to come out with kind of I think she called it the 2-day intensive
mm,
coach development program. And I was intrigued because at the time I felt um a little bit stuck. Like I didn't know how to become a better coach. I had really felt as though I nailed the basics. And I participated in some other coach development groups through the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. And, like I was communicating with other coaches in the community, and like, it just something, there was like a block that I had hit. And so I remember Denise called me because I submitted like I'm interested in this thing. And, she was like, okay, well, can you tell me like, what you're looking for? I think she just wanted to kind of vet people out and make sure that, that this was something that they would be interested in, because it is an investment. And so, I told her just that. I said, I don't know, Denise, I just feel kind of stuck. And she's like, well, I think that this 2-day intensive, that we've created it because, people kind of learn the basics, but then like, how do you take it to the next step? And a lot of times that is stuff that's going on in your head. And I'm like, well, Denise, sign me up. Here's my credit card.
Take my money.
As we all know, that's exactly what's wrong here. So, but all jokes aside, one of the very first exercises we did, we went to full circle. We went back to CrossFit One Nation to observe a class. And she was like, I want you to tell me, like, look at the class, look at the athletes in the class. And she's like, I want you to tell me who you think is going to be that problem athlete in this class. And I was like, oh, nailed it already. That guy right there. This guy had like kind of like a hockey long flow going and like a backwards baseball hat. And I was like, that's him. He's the problem. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, let's keep watching class. So we kept watching. And sure enough, they were doing front squats. And as soon as they started lifting, that guy was like, hey, coach, can you come over here? Like, can you just watch? Am I getting depth? Like he was so into it. Like what, like a dream member. Right. And so I was like, oh, and she's like, she looked at me and she was like, so do you still think he's the problem? I was like, well, clearly not. Look at him. He's so into it. He loves front squatting. And so she's like, look again. And I couldn't find the person. I was like, I don't understand. Like, and this is something that, if you've ever worked with Denise Thomas, she does this. She'll ask you a question and you're supposed to know the answer, but like you don't. And so you're kind of like, just tell me.
Yeah, she's not throwing you a bone.
Yeah. And finally, at the end of the class, I had discovered that was actually a woman. And the reason why I couldn't see her as the member, and when I say problem member, I just say she was like disinterested in class, not very engaged.
Yep.
But it was a woman. And when Denise was asking me to find who the problem was, I was looking at all of the fit men. And I couldn't find the problem because it wasn't the fit men that were the problem. It was the quiet woman in the corner who just wasn't interested for whatever reason. And, and as a coach, you learn that sometimes you have to kind of dive into that and say, hey, like, what's going on? How are you feeling today? So like nothing against that woman, but
Yep.
it opened my eyes to see that I have a trigger. I have a trigger point. And that is the overly fit gentleman. So, it really opened my eyes to see that there are a lot of times in my coaching where I have let a preconceived notion that I have about a person or a member or somebody in my class affect me emotionally and affect my ability to coach. And that exercise really opened my eyes to learning more and diving into that and doing some of the harder work of like, okay, this is a me problem. Like, how do I address this?
Yep. And that's really interesting because I know that in our call we've talked about I guess a thing where you have had someone who is disinterested in your class. And at first, like in our first discussions, when you raised it in our coaching call, you were like seeing it as a reflection on you.
Yes.
As, he's not happy that I'm, the coach and and the change, when really you were then able to reframe it through our conversations about he's also got his own stories and narratives and, what he's telling himself about the experience. You just have to go ahead and do you.
Yeah.
Like you can't, necessarily change what someone's perception is anyway, even if that was the thing, because it was, as I think I said to you, advice someone gave to me once, what anybody else thinks about you is none of your business. Like once, you've put yourself out there, that's it. And taking the ego and well, it must be me, rather looking at it more empathetically and externally and going, well, what's going on for them?
Right.
And being able to have that awareness of your own, the own bullshit we tell ourselves all the time, like, and the stories, but go, okay, this isn't a Cristina issue. It's well, viewing it through compassion for them, which is a true skill in coaching. But you've got there through doing, as I said earlier, that hard self-reflection, that you're aware of what your filters are and your biases are and your blind spots. So now you can actually break it down and not automatically assume it's you, or you can take ownership and go, yep, actually totally missed that one because damn it, fell into that trap again.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, and even if it is me, that's also not my problem.
Yeah.
So like even if somebody is, I have this belief that people don't trust me as a coach because I don't look like X
Mm-hmm.
coach, right? But if that person makes that decision about me, that's about them and their
Mm-hmm.
preconceived notions, right? So I can't allow that to stop me from being an amazing coach. And I
Yep.
think that that's, and that's just that. Like, even if people don't like you, even if people think you're a joke, even if people don't think that I deserve to have my level 4 credential, I can't allow that I have to just keep doing what I'm doing.
Mm. And it's that compelling nature that, I need to do this because I know what I'm doing, the world needs, that keeps you forging forward. Like we said earlier, it'd be very easy to hide in the shadows, but you know that you're right where you need to be, doing what you need to do and making a difference, which is huge, huge. And I know I've said to you before, you are a very different person, Cristina, today than when we started talking, 6 or so months ago, um, in regards to what you're worth and the value that you bring. So, you know, as we start to wrap up this amazing chat, because I've loved talking to you about this stuff today, because I think your journey has been amazing, and I think what you put out to the world is amazing, and it's definitely much needed. And I know that you're going to have some exciting things coming down the pipeline for people to get involved in. So I'm super excited for that. Not going to give that away yet, but watch this space. Follow Cristina on the socials if you don't already.
Yes.
What's one message that you have for somebody who's sitting there listening to this, watching this, and goes, how do I get better, or how do I push my fears to the side and not let them rule my life to do the thing that I really want to do, whether it's coaching or something else? How are you, what's one thing that you would say to somebody stuck, feeling in that stuck space?
I think that the biggest thing for me is that once I had my aha moment, and for me, it was at my CrossFit level 1 seminar. Once I had that moment, you reach this realization that everything you've been through, every painful memory, every struggle, you realize maybe there was a reason for that.
Mm.
And I think once you get to that point and you can transfer your mindset from woe is me or poor me, or, it sucks being me, whatever it may be, and shift that to that all happened to me because I am meant to do this.
Mm.
And once you find that thing, because I was looking for that thing for a long time, and until I found CrossFit, things just weren't quite the mind shift just wouldn't quite click. So when you find that thing, you'll know. And that's my first piece of advice, I guess I would say that if you're unsure, you probably haven't found it yet. And then when you've found the thing, you'll know. And that's what's going to drive you. It's almost like there's a purpose for everything that you've went through, that everything you've went through is an experience that is needed to make you the person that you are today. And you can start working on shifting that mindset now. I think anybody can do that. Just kind of, looking at their past in a different lens. And if you keep focusing on that and like I said in the very beginning, like sitting in your car, getting ready to take your level 4 and saying to yourself, I am worthy of trying this. I am worthy of being in that room. I have worked very hard. I do deserve to be here. Until that voice is louder than the ones that you've told yourself your whole life. And so I think that's, and that's just it. And you just have to keep fighting it. You just have to keep fighting it. And eventually that voice does get louder.
And one thing I was just reflecting on as you spoke then is, talking about all these things happen to me and woe is me. But, when we first started working together, I remember one of the things we talked about was that, life was happening to you. Like you were a victim of the circumstances you're in and the situation that you're in. But once we flip that around to, well, I can change the situation or I can, demonstrate my worth. I mean, your journey now is very much you are making life happen. Like you booked that level 4 as soon as it opened. You're like, I'm booking that. You got on the plane, you went there, you did the thing. Like you took the steps, you've done the hard things. You changed your jobs from, one gym to now working at CrossFit Medfield and in a head coach role. And if you didn't realize your own worth and your own value, then you would not have done that. There's no way you would have stepped up. But the fact that you are now in the driver's seat and you're making life happen rather than life happening to you, I think is possibly one of your biggest achievements aside from any certification. And you're, realizing that inner strength you have and putting that message out there. Like, and I know that you've had some instances where people may have trolled you on the socials or on your reels but you just keep turning up and showing up and putting that stuff out there. And I think that that's inspiring. Your journey is inspiring. I, as your coach, I guess I'm a little bit biased, but I'm incredibly proud of you, not just for the level 4. That's just the cherry on top, but for the work that you've done on Cristina and becoming the Cristina I see sitting in front of me today. So, I congratulate you. And the fact that you have found your voice and you're inspiring potentially a whole new generation of coaches is something that's a legacy. That's your footprint. And, own that, be proud of it. And we can't wait to see what comes out next for you in your adventures. I'm super excited.
Me too. Thank you.
If people want to connect with you, what's the easiest way if they've got questions about becoming better coaches, how they should, work on themselves or any questions or they want to reach out and connect? What's the easiest way to do that with you?
You can definitely follow me on Instagram at coach_Cristina Anderson. No H in my first name. It trips people up. Yep. And you can also email me at Cristina@CrossFitMedfield.com. Or check out my gym. We do have a website and all that fancy stuff. So if you're in the area, I would love to have people like drop in and actually come to me. That would be cool too.
Fantastic. And I look forward to being able to drop in one day and have a coffee.
That's a lot. That's the drop in will be on me, Lisa.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Does that include the airfare? So it's going to be a drop in.
I don't know about that, but
yeah, okay. Asterisk includes class only. Awesome. All right, my friend, I've enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for coming back on again, and big things ahead, and we're excited. We look forward to following you.
Thank you.